Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Look guys, you guys got very big rams. I hope you don't get it from where I'm suspecting.
Do you think you are the only one who knows where all the good news come from? My son bought me this ram all the way from abroad with baluwo.
Oh yes! This must be baluwo. Me too, my daughter just bought one for me. True baluwo. With baluwo, everything is possible.
This Tabaski, you can buy ram for your family using the trusted baluwo. Just log on to the www.baluwo.com website or download the app. You can buy ram, otherwise foodstuffs such as rice, sugar, cooking oil, and much more for your family this Tabaski. Baluwo, better than sending money.
noo lañ def ñoo ñëw ak yéen rek skincare plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5-star Jesna la 5-star Jesna mooy Jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee buñ demee Bamako ñun duñ dem ci marché bi rek buub indi déedéet dañ leen a jox suñu specs ne lañ nii lañ ko buggee nay lañ ko buggee fóot bi nangami fóot lañ bugga pour mu mun a set waaw cuubi skincare déedéet doo ko sol mu di la taxa all over the place ci gàttal ñun rek si cuub dara du doy day des not only dañoo cuub but bu la neexee ñu cuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la ñaw fi mu gën a setee nag rek la ñoo fulee ñetti ñawkat lañ am nañ ñawkati simple nga xam ne xoppati rek mbaa def sa taille basse def sa dagit def sa roba amul benn dawme am nañ koo xam ne moo ñoo dawme jigéen den am nañ tamit special ñawkat boo xam ne ñawi góor rek la ñoo defal nga bugg sa his and hers muy korité muy tobaski mbaa muy ngénte muy takka mbaa nga bugg rek def sa yëkka bu baax a baax daagul ba ñëw skincare plus ñu dimbali la tànnal la cuub fam gën a baaxee ndax sa yëkka gën a foor lii nga ne lan xoolal bi takka la skincare fii la fu léegi yéen tey we're not all about skin we are skin care and the plus does come in so many different ways. chubantu wuñ de dañ ciub bam saf saf
Hello and welcome to the brunch on Kerfatu. I'm Lamin Cham on Saturday, the 27th July 2019. And accompanying me, of course, most of them familiar faces, Yuma Kamara of the University of the Gambia, Mustafa Dabo of Kerfatu, and another University of the Gambia, actually, lecturer Demba Kande. So, gentlemen and lady, welcome to the brunch. Good, we'll start as usual with a look at the press in this week. And on the review, of course, are the TRRC revelations, as well as, if you like, you call it Black Wednesday, twin demonstrations in Brikama and parts of Serekunda. We will discuss all of this as it is covered by the press and, of course, through the lens of our analyst here in the studio. Now, throughout last week, the TRRC, that is the Commission for Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation, have had more chilling accounts of how Jammeh's reign of tyranny had impacted on the Gambian people. 3 of the so-called junglers, members of his former patrol team, told the country about the deaths of roughly over 60 people in between the 3 of them. They answered questions as to who killed Editor Deda Hydra, the 2 Americans who disappeared and have not been found, who actually killed the 9 Mile 2 inmates, National Assembly member Mahawa Cham, plus Shol Ndao, and many others who lost their lives in mysterious circumstances during the Jammeh regime. So, ladies and gentlemen, between the 3 of them, junglers Omar Jallo alias Oya, Amadou Baji, and Malik Jatta, some 70 people lost their lives through their own participation or through their contribution. How did you, as the Senegalese would say, lived after hearing those revelations in university?
It was very sad. It was too revealing, and I know that the sentiment was across the board. We saw on Facebook and social media how people reacted. They were very chilling revelations, and some of these people are known to us. Mahao Cha, for example, is an uncle to me. So it's not anything that people did not expect. These rumors have been going around for so many years now. But it takes the sadness and the remorsefulness to another level when you hear from the horse's mouth, and especially the details about how these people were killed. And also, I think it gives a new perspective as to what people are capable of. And it also gives us an insight into what the mentality of our people in uniform were and what reforms need to happen at this point. Because it's not just about the killing, it's about their belief, it's about what they have been taught.
Yes.
Apparently my mic is not on, so.
Well, you behave like a better won't get this time.
Yeah.
So you let me put the question back to Nima. how did you live through all these chilling revelations you had from the TRRC? Like I said, in between the three junglers, Omar Jallo, alias Oya, Malik Jatta, and Amadou Badji, 70 people have either been killed by their own hands or they contributed to their killing. They included, of course, as you said, your uncle and my cousin Mahawa Cham, colleague, Jeddah Hydra, the Mile 2 inmates, and the Americans who disappeared. How did you receive these chilling accounts of what happened? And Baba Job, of course, former majority leader of the APRC.
Exactly, yeah. So like I said before, apparently my mic was not on, so I have to take this through again.
Okay.
What I said is, I think the sentiment is the same across the board. I have known people who have expressed their sadness on Facebook. We haven't heard from direct victims yet, but some of us could claim to be direct victims because we have relatives who have been killed. And we have known for several years that these things had happened, but it was just a speculation. So I think it's a whole new ball game when you hear from those who are involved in the killing to give the detailed account of how these killings have happened. It was very gruesome, and I think also the reason why you see these people appearing to not be remorseful, and they account as if it was just an ordinary business. I think that gives an insight into what their mentality is and what could have been the situation within the army, something that we need to really focus on now and see where we can effect changes. Because most of these people do not feel, or they know what they were doing was wrong because they are doing it behind the scenes. If it was just a regular activity within the army, they would have done it openly. But the fact that they were doing it behind the scenes is because they understand it was wrong.
For me, I saw a group of people whom I felt a little bit amazed that I thought the people who were carrying out these extrajudicial executions on behalf of Jammeh are dummies, people who hardly have any brain to think about. But I'm surprised about the intelligence of Jatta and Jallo particularly. They sound to me like quite average or above average intelligent people. How do you think they were made to be turned into monsters like that? How do you think it is happening, Mustafa?
It appears to me, Mr. before you come in,
yes, that's right.
It appears
they
to me
look like
as though
people.
somebody who is doing the recruiting is looking for certain qualities within these people. Because they don't, it seems as if people are being spied on or they are being observed for a period of time to understand that this is somebody we can recruit into this team and they would do the bidding. Yeah. And that's
my impression. My amazement was whereas people like Tumbul Tama and Maliamugu actually are ill-educated people, or if you want to like dummies. But Jatta, Jallo impressed me as people who are really above intelligence. You can rate them to very intelligent people.
Well, Jammeh is himself intelligent. Yes. Intelligence definitely has nothing to do with the ability of a human being to kill.
So how is he able to turn them into monsters like that?
I think that was always there. These are people, they observed them and they looked at someone who is able to do this job, and then they start to recruit them. If you had looked at the stories of all these people, they got through the training, and at some point they are invited, and after the training they are called by either Sol Baji or Solo Bojang or Nuha Baji or Tumbul Tamba and said, you're going to be part of a patrol team. So there is obviously something they see in each one of them that tells them that this person can do this.
And once they do it once?
And once you do it,
this
is an act. Once you do it second, so you have this feeling that I've now lost. I'm now lost. Yeah, so there is no conscience at all. You continue killing until...
Demba, were you, I'm sure you must be appalled, not just by these confessions, but the nature of the killings. One would have expected, okay, if somebody shot, by bullets, that is perhaps more acceptable. But these people strangulated people.
It's horrible to say. Like the devil is in the details. Like Nima and others mentioned, we've all known that most of these violations of human rights have been happening in Jammeh. I mean, one, we did not know the extent to which it was happening, maybe, but we also did not know the details of how it was happening. And this is where the TRRC is really important. It's very traumatizing to actually watch, some of the testimonies. Look at the case of Deda Hydra, our colleague Deda Hydra. I mean, 3 bullets, firing 3 bullets into a car, a moving car. I mean, that was insane. You look at the other cases where Jammeh requested, according to the testimony, that they cut them into pieces.
Absolutely.
That's insane. I mean, if you imagine, like, this is small Gambia. You understand? I mean, if you look at, if you watch the testimonies, one of them, he was like, he was chatting with some of his victims on the way to the executions. Imagine.
They've been asking him questions.
Where are we going? This is somebody who was giving him food. They were friends. Imagine that kind of person. I mean, you're chatting with them, and next minute you are.
Does it make you feel sorry for these people who are involved too? Because I feel like there are so many victims involved in this, and you can put them on layers. Like, I feel like even those who are being these so-called junglers themselves, at some point they could be considered victims. I don't know if I'm going to be.
I think that relates to the question that Lamin asked earlier on about how did they turn them into these monsters? Yes. Because, like he said, I think I agree with that. Jallo and Jatta, and even to a large extent, Baji, they sound like smart people. I mean, average or beyond average people. But I think, and I may be wrong about this, but I think there was a system. Right? An elaborate system or plan in which you can set up people and train them and establish or turn them into whatever you want. Right? And you can see that, I mean, in his description of the Italian guy, the mafia guy, I mean, and then there's a whole lot of people who are trained from different parts of the world coming together to set up a system. You talk about, they have to be called by a particular person. So it's kind of like a process, step by step. So it looks like it was an organized system, where they know when to call you, when to involve you, and where not to involve you, how to involve you, depending on the type of person you are. You talked about the fact that they've been studied. They may have been observed over time. So all of these suggest to me that there was a system or an elaborate plan to, deliberately turn people into monsters, killers, so that they will be at the beacon or the call of this monster called Jammeh.
And if you look at the way they are conditioned, they are loosely controlled. At the strategic level, you have Sol Baji making the policies, so to speak. You have Jammeh also there making calling the shots. But at the operational level, you have so many people. At one point, you have Malia Mungu, you have Tumbul Tamba and Kanilai, you have Solo Bojang. So you have 3 people. You have Nuha, who is also with them.
Rambo.
But you have these 4 people who are leading several operations. And when you are called, they decide at what point should you be aware of what. You understand? Like when Tumbul, the case in point is when Solo Bojang and Soul Baji called Mr. Baji, Ahmad Baji, they told him, you're part of the patrol team now. But if there is an operation you are not called, no questions asked. If there is an operation you are called, no questions asked. So what happened? No one discusses. And these are the things they condition the mind into a certain path. And that path they know, because when you are there, the more you start to discuss about these things, the more you ask questions, your conscience pricks you. But when you have a lot of questions, you cannot ask anybody, because to know you are wrong, mind can actually convince itself. Like if I shoot her, this is something I do. I sit at one place. I can convince myself that I'm doing something right. But if I go to Demba can tell me, no, this is wrong. That is where talking to someone is not good. So they made sure you don't talk to anyone.
I didn't think the junglers didn't know that they were doing something wrong. I think what happened from their first involvement, then you can argue that perhaps that one had been forced on them. But that is how the system works. Once you are involved in the killing of one person and everybody kept quiet, now you are trapped, sort of blackmailed, to continue to be a member of that gang. And not wanting to go would means that you definitely jeopardizing yourself. I can believe that, because it means that you'll be seen as a suspect who will go to tell the story of what you have been participating in, and that could be dangerous. But why didn't the junglers themselves together fail to realize that, okay, together we perhaps are powerful than the people giving us these authorities? Why can't we defy one or two of these things and see what will happen?
It's not also that they don't like it. I mean, I mean, for a lot of these people,
but most of them said at some point, like Jataf said, at some point he knew that he was being used. He clearly disentangled himself from the whole army responsibility and went and stayed in Tujarang. And because of his potential danger, I mean, he was left alone most of the time because they feared him apparently because of what he was capable of doing. So if they had realized at the time that we've been used to do these things, and if we all, I mean, refused together, perhaps it could stop, but they didn't.
Yeah, I think that's an important question. It's probably the loose nature in which they were organized themselves. You talked about at the operational level where we have different people, you know, calling at different levels. So I'm not sure, but from the testimony you can see that at various times they were different people, you know, group at different levels. So probably there has not been any opportunity for them to, you know, interact to a level where they can trust each other to talk about issues. You know, issues were like, you know, and they were obviously not allowed to talk about their operations. So if that room does not exist or that opportunity does not exist, then there will be little or no opportunity for them to realize as a team that what they're doing is wrong and that they could probably take action on their own. I think an important component of this is also to ask the question of what kind of training the Gambia Armed Forces has been giving to these people. This is important because...
Not just training, but the orientation.
Exactly.
How are they being oriented, especially with regards to their relationship with their commanders and the instructions that have been given to them, but also their knowledge over legal matters.
All of
those,
this.
Those things are very important to consider. Nobody is trying to negate the fact that somebody has to be responsible. I think it's important that we make that clear. If you killed, you have to be responsible. These are people with clear concerns. At what point have they lost their concerns? That only them can answer that. But the greater responsibility, if you ask me, would have to lie on those who give the command. Right? But regardless of that, every individual who's involved, the junglers must face the full force of
well, I do think the training component of it, actually we know. Because, I mean, they were trained by this, some call him a fraud, called Francis Kakasu. And then apparently Francis, we were told, had been working with one Tony, I don't know, Katoni.
No, Tony Katoni, yes, whom he blackmailed.
A lot of people actually know him who...
No, Tony, I met him many times.
But if you look at the elaborate scheme... I thought him to be a comedian, actually.
I never thought he had any. Tony, I didn't believe Tony was...
No, Tony was harmless. Tony was never part of the whole thing. He was just a restaurant owner. But if you look at the whole thing and you look at how Tony, even if we are to believe, let's say Francisco was a fraud, but look at how he conditioned these people into believing that he was an assassin. He was some guy who had come into the country to kill Jammeh himself. And I think that was part of an elaborate plan for him to win the trust of these people so that he gets the contract of training the junglers. And look at what he had done. After training them a few weeks into their training, they went for a patrol. And they saw someone who was just trying to flee on a motorbike. And they killed this person. And Francisco was happy, and we were told when he came, he said, Jungler is done. Jungler is done the good job.
What I couldn't believe is, if you look at the testimony, the concept of junglers, actually the initial thing was not bad. The initial concept wasn't bad. It was meant to train a set of people who would be known to jungle warfare, for example. They would be trained to jungle warfare. And I remember even when the British were here, the Gambian army used to do jungle training. Like they will go to Jambanjeli. Between Jambanjeli and Sukuta used to be thick bush at the time. And they will be left there, and then they will come at night by their own. Even Jammeh participated in that.
That's a normal process within the army. Because even now I understand few individuals have been selected to go on a
But this one is different.
But when the concept changed, when this Italian, got involved and changed the whole concept, well, everybody at the time, before the killing started, they took it as a privilege to be part of the junglers. They thought perhaps it shows your capacity as a good soldier you are. But then, in the process, they were turned into killers, and they never had a way to get out of it.
Yeah, so I think for me that has a lot to do with the kind of training they've received, because all of these are also soldiers. And all of these soldiers are recruited through a system of the Gambia Armed Forces, and they pass through a recruitment training or a recruit training. And I think for me, if you pass through certain levels of training of the Gambia Armed Forces, irrespective of what kind of system exists, you should not be used as a tool to kill people. I mean, so that calls for one thing, that we need to look at the kind of training that they're being offered. Yes, I mean, these people are probably, in terms of combat operations or whatever, they've been trained very well, and probably that's why they stood out and they've been selected by these people. But in terms of the level of awareness, in terms of the level of respect for human rights, the dignity of the human person, I think those are very fundamental principles that probably are missing in
we are sacrificed.
Kind of training that we have.
Now, I will say that the education of the military itself inescapably makes these people, the education, of course, I had some professionals saying the education of the military itself inescapably turn them into enemies of anybody who acts with freedom. Like passive obedience is their virtue. Like the more obedient you are without asking questions, the more better a soldier it is. But then also, how do you contrast with the fact that the cardinal principle, the very first lesson they learn at their training school is take and obey all orders except unlawful orders.
But what do they understand to be lawful?
That's the problem. Yeah. How much do they understand?
What is unlawful, what is lawful?
But also, if you look at these jungular operations, if you even speak to people in the army, one fundamental thing about these junglers is the enjoyment of the power they had at the time.
Yes.
You understand? Now, these people were more powerful than even the CDS.
Yes.
They had direct contact with Jammeh.
That is
so, I mean, that privilege.
Yeah.
Even junglers, they are soldiers within the soldiers. So it's not like any other.
Yes, that's why.
And that is a trapping in itself.
That's why we should.
That's also very charming.
That's why the army had always wanted it to be clear that these people are definitely part of the army.
Yeah.
But they were absolutely under no control of the army hierarchy.
Yes.
They were reporting direct to the president. And you said in the process they became very powerful. And you know, people who are sacred cows, they could do anything and nothing will come out of it. That's true. That's why the army have always been keen to say that it's not all the army, entire army, who are bad. These people are selected by Jammeh, used for a purpose. Yes, they are soldiers, but then it is not the entire army that looks like that. Baji had said that. Baji, who was the CDS, said this. You heard from Baji, the other Baji's testimony, that they even went for Langtombo, who was supposed to be CDS, supposed to be more powerful. But then these junglers are more powerful. And you know, what happened is that, I told you that in the junglers and on their command, that was at State House, had more weapons, superior weapons, than even the ordinary soldiers in the barracks, who had only SLRs. There was a time State House was called the Pentagon. They themselves, the army had a jargon for it called the Pentagon, so to speak. And what it means was that, what it meant is that that's where you have more superior weapons. And it is the junglers and their command, you know, led by the late Bajinka, and you know, later Koreans and other things, who had all that weapons at their disposal. They had more opportunity to stop Jammeh than the thousands of soldiers, foot soldiers who are in the barracks.
But that is why they say Jammeh also insults everybody except Sol Baji.
Yes.
Yeah, and that explains why.
So if Malik Jatta could stay in Tujarang and refuse to do any duties and is still being paid, it shows how powerful he could have.
So it's also
I think that's why it's safe to say that at some point, I know this is not going to sit well with some people, that you could consider these people as a victim, because this is the narcissist way of doing things. There are people that you keep close to yourself and you treat them with special treatment until they feel that they are special among the rest of us. And also we know that drug is being involved here. Like anyone who forms part of the jungular movement, whatever it is.
And you know, he created this, what was called the GNG and the Republican Guards, the Fajara barracks. Yeah. Sort of, those were, so to speak, his elite forces. That's from there that he got state guard battalions and etc., etc. And all of them were controlled by Sol Baji, who was his who was basically his man. I mean, Jammeh had a military within a military.
Yeah.
And from what I
Saul was
gather,
actually the president of the Sado state.
in fact, from what I gather, Jammeh's cabinet, his ministers' cabinets and stuff like that are not his government. Jammeh's government is himself, his generals, and junglers. They knew better than even what the civilian ministers knew. They knew what is happening, but they didn't know when it's happening and when it's going to happen. So let's sum up these things. Say individual cases. The Ghanaians, did it surprise you it came like this? I mean, the human rights organizations, Trial International, Human Rights, etc., Amnesty International, have all said in May 2018 that they have found new evidence that to say that these people were killed by rogue elements of the army was not true.
You know, what is funny about all of these things is when incidents happened during Jammeh's time and they will come on TV and they will give their own version of how things happened. Yeah. I mean, they are so unbelievable that sometimes you believe, are they so stupid or do they think we are very stupid? For example, the Dabamarena cases. Like, these are stories that nobody in their right senses would believe, but they still want to feed the public this information. Yeah. So, like I said, everybody knew what happened. We're just beginning to get the details. Confirmations.
With Ghanaians, particularly?
The Ghanaians I found very, very interesting because remember in 2008, I think if I'm not mistaken, a panel of investigators from the UN, the AU and others concluded that the Gambia government was not complicit in the murder of these Ghanaians. Yeah. You know, and so, I mean, and that really is a very big, because it puts so much question on the credibility of these international organizations. Yeah.
They were fooled, according to Trial International. Even police logbooks were changed on Jammeh's orders, apparently.
If you do not have evidence, you cannot say.
You know, where they false report, all documents, all trail of documents pertaining to the initial arrests and processing of these people were all changed according to Trial International. And they even named officers who spoke to them who are still serving. I'm sure they will go to the TRRC. So, overseas, investigators from overseas, definitely if they relied on those things, they will found nothing. But then of course, what really inspired these people to dig in further was that people who took part in those murders, who ran away, they started telling the story the right way. And that's what led to all these suspicions. And now, it's been, and of course the survivor who told the story, and it's been confirmed. But let's go to Malik Jata. He said that he himself was involved perhaps in 30 killings of those Ghanaians. They had 2 vehicles and 15 badges. And when they went down to one well in Fonyi, he and Jeng were the ones dragging them and handing them over to Sana Manjang and Malik Jata. Yeah. And Malik had only admitted Malik Jata had only admitted, participated in only 15. I tend to believe Jallo than Malik Jata. Because Jallo did not seem to make any mistake as far as identities. When it comes to the identities of his group of people, he was so accurate.
He sounded more truthful and more forthcoming. He told more. He revealed more than Malik.
Yeah,
Malik was saying stuff, but in my opinion, he was hiding certain things. Some of the details. For what reason, I don't know.
But was it even possible for him to go and sit in a car after shooting just one person?
And the narration he gave, I saw an attempt by him, to kind of, let's say, paint a good picture of himself in the whole process. When he said he saw the eventual escapee and he had a chance to shoot him down, but he didn't. Now, the one who escaped, his story is very different from how Malik narrated. Because the guy who escaped, what is his name again?
Kerry. Martin Kerry.
Martin Kerry said he escaped from the vehicle when it was still moving. He was able to free himself and jump in there. He had shots, of course, he could hear, but nothing landed on him and he managed to escape. That's different from Malik saying that he actually saw this man running and he ignored. That's wrong. That couldn't happen.
In fact, If you had listened to Jallo's testimony, Jallo said all the 30 that went to the bush were killed.
Were all killed. So
no one escaped.
No one. It was a second act because I remember. In fact, we covered the discovery of the 8 dead bodies at Ghana Town at the Observer, which I actually saw the dead bodies, and I was there with the then CMC. They call it Crime Management Coordinator Pa Amadi Jallo, who was at the UN and is still in the country. Pa Amadi Jallo. When I asked him, look, what do you make of these dead bodies? He said there at the time that, looking at this, you know, foul play is involved. That's what he said. When we quoted him in the Observer of July the 25th, 2005, when that hit the street, he got a letter, even before noon, he got a letter transferring him to traffic.
And he was a police officer.
He was the coordinator of crime. He was supposed to head
the crime unit.
Crime unit at midday on that day to discuss this.
To coordinate the investigation.
He made a mistake of being quoted by the journalists that this is foul play. When that hit the street before noon, he was transferred to the traffic division. When he saw me later, he said, "Champ, there will be a day we'll talk about this." But this article actually caused my transfer. And when we came to, it was 40, because when we came to the RV, that time it was called, we found armed soldiers from the mortuary right down to the children's wing, right to the emergency, this thing. All the armed soldiers, they found a corridor, they form a corridor. Only the vehicle carrying the dead bodies and me and my cameraman were allowed to go in there. So now, if there were ordinary dead bodies found, why do you have armed and guards trying to block people who wanted to come and watch? See, all those things today played up in my mind that, come on, it was obvious that something
because you didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle
at the time.
Yeah.
You see?
Another thing that would attribute these cases to Jammeh's brutality would be when it happened. You cannot have more than 40 people being killed on your territory, and you do not make the most effort to try to uncover, to investigate who were behind it.
Exactly. The way, if you look at how paranoid, so to speak, the system was, if a group of people or even a single individual get killed, we will know. We will know from the reaction of the government that somebody else on the arms exists, apart from them.
Yes. What is even crazier is the fact that these people could not tell that these people were just ordinary backway people.
Yes,
that's insane.
And the Ghanaians spoke English.
It's insane. I don't think
they told investigators, obviously, that Jallo said it. Jallo said one of the guys who gave him $100. I mean, €100. I told him that, look, we are not mercenaries. We have nothing to do with guns or whatever. We're just going to back way. At a time.
I don't think the junglers cared enough to ask any questions or to believe any statement from their victims.
The junglers are they're given an instruction, and their job is to execute the instruction. For the junglers, they just hit squad. Kill.
Yeah, but
take care of this. Go take care of it. They are mercenaries. They are mercenaries.
Yeah, but what happened is that why would people like Jallo perhaps, if well, of course,
but it's hard
if it is the nature of their mentality. But if I was able to talk, I'm a member of the killer squad. I'm able to be convinced by this particular guy that, look, I am harmless. We have not done it. You were convinced because Jallo saw that he was convinced.
Yeah. No, but it's going to be it's going to be bad to be convinced. Think about it, because everybody cries when it's time to die. Yeah. So you can. It's easy to just discard it as the last wish of a dying.
Actually, my point here is that even the command, whoever that is, including Jammeh, it was easy to determine that these people were not interested in any government.
They were speaking English. If that was a problem, the thing is the paranoia.
Yeah,
that's it. Because they must have been told that these people look like mercenaries.
Yes.
Now, anybody who hasn't lost the last shred of human dignity would process these people.
Yeah.
And the Ghanaians could speak English. They're Anglophone. They certainly must have argued.
I'm more inclined to believe that they just wanted to do it. Because even if they suspected them of being mercenaries, they were with no weapons.
They should, yes.
They were with no weapons.
And then you should be interested in knowing.
What is so threatening about them?
Yeah.
Why could you not imprison them, for example?
And you know, you captured them all.
I think they just wanted to kill them.
I think we have a problem. We are judging the system by higher standards.
I think the problem was paranoia.
Look, what happened to Chief Mali? Chief Mali avoid anybody.
I think it was paranoia.
He couldn't avoid anybody.
It was paranoia. Paranoia
Chief
was
Mani's problem, we were told, was just the printing of
and to some of
an
this,
article.
And to some of this now, some of this topic. Which one do you think is more likely to inspire or perhaps galvanize support from the international community in bringing Jammeh to justice among these multiple murders? I picked out Deda Hydra. I've seen a lot of advocacy around the world, especially from journalist groups, saying that that murder must, people who have perpetrated that, and Jammeh himself must be tried for that. The Americans, I heard that, and in Ghana and Nigeria, it was big news when this Ghanaians, when Jallo started talking about this thing. I think these three, I'm not of course trivializing the Gambian deaths, but these ones I think will be a big problem for Jammeh.
Well, obviously.
What do you make of it?
You know, we have to understand, for example, this is something you would consider mass murder, obviously. Does it amount to crimes against humanity? Perhaps not.
Of course.
Oh yeah, it does.
Where the method of killing,
I think it does.
The method of killing.
But up to a point where it would have to fall under universal jurisdiction. My point though here is the reason why other countries will be interested. The U.S. Embassy, for example, had made a statement. The reason why they will be interested, the reason why Ghana will be interested, the reason why Nigeria will be interested is because their citizens are involved, right? So it's safe to say that from that angle, international pressure could come from there. Also, we understand that protecting journalists and safeguarding their lives is a universal principle. This is something any major democracy would be interested in. So this is something also you would expect international pressure to come from. But let's say, for example, the other people who are involved, especially those who have served in the army, although their killing is as brutal as anyone else's, I don't think that would attract as much international pressure as these other people that we have identified.
My take is, I agree with you what you say. My addition would be that the case of Deda Hydra and the Gambian Americans are one of the few where at least Jallo was able to tell us that Jammeh gave direct order, you know, so he's kind of the chain of command was established. The Ghanaian, I'm not sure maybe I didn't get it clearly during the testimony, but I'm not sure it was clear for him that the order came directly from Jammeh.
He said it. He said that Bombardier and Noah Valle and others said that these people should be dealt with.
They are mercenaries and
in the case of Deda, we know he said he was listening. He had this other guy talking to Jammeh directly.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, and the Gambian Americans, they took them even to Jammeh.
Yes, that's right. That's
so those are clear cut.
Very clear.
What could be so
and we know from experience that the command structure in the army at the time, or even in the Gambia at the time, is that no needle lands in this country without Jammeh. So it was impossible to extricate him from
certainly.
Almost all the murders have been linked to Jammeh, according to the junglers. They always said Mansako, Mansakeko. That's why, as I always insisted, who is Mansake? Is it one referred to as the president? They would say yes.
There's something
but then like Cabinet said,
fundamentally wrong with that nomenclature, Mansake.
Yes,
Mansake is very powerful.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to know. That's why I didn't want any ambiguity. He wanted to know where that Mansa has been referred to is actually Jammeh. But what Kande said, I mean, the case of the two Americans was definitely far more direct involvement of Jammeh. He asked for them to be taken to him. And they were taken to him and he saw them.
Let me see people who want to overthrow him.
Yes.
Crazy.
He was, and he met them and they were put to death. That one is seriously.
It's difficult to understand such an obsession with power. Because men, you're
paranoia.
going to die someday.
Paranoia. Paranoia.
Someone will take control of that seat.
It all boils down to
it's
paranoia.
It's impossible to be there forever.
Yeah.
For anyone.
It boils down. It all boils. You know.
It also fit in within the broader dictator's modus operandi everywhere in the continent.
It all boils down to paranoia. You see, I read in a book that the philosophy of dictator is everything out of the ordinary is a possible source of danger. So they don't believe in anything. That's why Chief Manavi, who had nothing, only his pen, that you can counter argue. If Data wrote, "Good morning, Mr. President, this is not," somebody in your press department can counter argue in the same page. And everybody go to sleep.
And he publishes it.
And he will publish it.
Yeah.
So
I publish a response of Mr.
Bunja Dabo in his exactly. I can criticize Adam Barrow. Tomorrow Adam Barrow spokesman, come and reply in the same page. Everybody go to sleep.
And you publish.
So why would you find the need to kill such a person? That is what is quite okay. That will do for the topic. So much horrific stories. Actually, we have to change the topic now.
Except that the junglers are also going to be, well, there is so much sentiment around their release.
Well, yes.
There is a huge debate between should they be released and should they be kept.
Okay, now, you know what I understand? I think the government, or whoever they are detaining authorities, we're struggling how to justify keeping them there without being put on trial.
There is no justification.
And they've been complaining. So they must have now, they must have struck a deal. They must have struck a deal.
It looks like it.
It looks like a deal has been struck.
Them, but I think you let them go.
No, look, I mean, the reason for detentions.
Yeah. But if you're not going to put them on trial immediately.
Listen now. It looks like a deal has been struck. To bring them through the TRRC process. And then get them to ask for forgiveness. And perhaps, like it happened in the case of Sabali, they'll probably be freed. And then people wait until when the commission will recommend.
Otherwise,
I think that's likely to happen.
I think people need to have some.
So it's also about the safety of these people as well, and the safety of the general public. I mean, the junglers themselves, the safety of the public as well. And for me, until and unless government is able to determine that when these people are released, they will be safe in the general public, and that the general public is safe from them. Then there's no point releasing them.
But there are two things to do.
One thing the government could do
is
to, when they are releasing them, they will take their documents from them, obviously. But there will be a travel embargo on them.
Do you think?
I mean, that's one thing they can't risk.
There's one thing there.
These people will want to travel.
These people would not like to travel at the moment.
Do you think they will want
to
travel?
Because the thing is, these people now have found, in fact, from the very beginning of their detention, in 2017, these people have not had a rough time as detainees, so to speak. Of course, if somebody
they do talk to their people.
If somebody is prevented from going out, that's equally detention. Yes. But what I'm trying to say, they knew that in today's Gambia, nobody will get killed, nobody get tortured in detention. So they prefer to be detained here, where they will see their women, and they will eat their food.
That's my point. Probably they are safer in detention.
They are safer in detention.
They can serve as witnesses for any prosecutor, so they are assets. So obviously, I don't think it's in the state's interest to treat them badly if they can be used to get information that can convict people with larger responsibility.
And that's true.
That's my point.
What can they say? Okay. I don't see any motivation or motive in them getting being dangerous to the public again, because maybe they will have no motive to kill now. Now their own safety, I think, is a problem now. But that's why the TRRC have always been emphasizing that people must not see these people in a manner that is bad. We must exercise patience and wait for the commission's recommendation.
The process is ongoing. And
now, Sana Sabali, for example, could come and go. I heard recently he was even in the Gambia. So these people also want to enjoy some type of privilege, that they could go out and come back and go. And their safety, of course, for themselves, because now that they have talked about Jammeh, and some of the junglers are still at large, they themselves will need some recommendation. Like Jallo said when they were going, some of the junglers asked him to come to join them, that they had some money, and he knew if he get there, he would be killed. Because they didn't want them to do exactly what they've done, which is to reveal what they have done. But now that that's been done, I think they are the ones who need safety more, perhaps, than the general public. So how the TRRC is going to do that is, or the government, the state going to do that. Yeah, all right. So we will now change the topic, and there will be more jungle testimonies according to the TRRC, because there are 4 of them.
We have 3 more to go.
3 more or 4?
6 altogether. How many have testified?
3 have testified.
Yeah, we have 3 more.
So we have 3 more junglers to go. And perhaps we should highlight that some of the junglers named there are at large, for example. Noah Baji is not arrested.
I think some of them has been, charged recently.
No, that's an old one.
Is Solo Bojan not arrested?
That's an old story. That's an old story. Solo Bojan escaped.
That happened immediately after the
Immediately after, yeah. Solo Bojan escaped. He actually was freed by the new government because, he had problems with Germany. He was locked up.
He escaped?
Yes.
I think Solo is very sick, I heard.
Yes. I think based on that, he was released. But then, immediately he gained his freedom. I think he knew the investigations were going to lead to him. And
actually, there were investigations because these people have already issued their statements to the police long time ago.
This is 2018 or 20. The junglers, yes. What I mean is Solo.
That's what you people got and you
exactly.
were
Solo had gone before. Immediately he regained his freedom. He left. You remember everybody was taken out. Almost everybody was taken out for political reasons from the prisons. He was among those who benefited, but according to the authorities, he fled. Bora Koli, we had sometime it was said he was arrested and brought here. Was that true?
Bora, by the Senegalese authority.
By the Senegalese. So he should be in custody.
It was reported.
Yeah,
it was reported.
He was reportedly arrested.
So if he was, actually, we should expect him to come through the TRRC.
We should. Yes.
And he's considered a big shot, according to the junglers. All right, so we now turn to Black Wednesday, as we will call it. There were massive demonstrations in Brikama.
Small camp.
Well,
there is no Black Wednesday there.
And then also in Serekunda. We saw a level of violence that really scared everybody in and around the country, and even overseas. People concerned, expressing concern as to what is happening. Now, if Brikama was planned, the Serekunda one is somehow spontaneous. What do you make of it?
Very much.
Was it spontaneous?
Well, the Brikama, the Serekunda one seemed to be.
It wasn't.
I didn't see any planning.
It was not planned, but it was not spontaneous.
But I thought it was knowledge, when knowledge spread that this former detainee died. That's when it started, isn't it?
It's not spontaneous.
I didn't see any planning. I didn't have...
The reason why I said it's not spontaneous was because, look, this whole thing happened. These people were having back and forth argument with the police since morning. And the demonstration turned violent later in the afternoon towards evening.
But were they not asking?
So there was always that space
but listen,
to hold a discussion with these people because they had their own genuine concern.
But it's only after the death of the former detainee that
he didn't die in the custody.
That's what I'm saying, former detainee.
Yeah.
He died after being released from detention.
Yes.
But the protesters believe that
actually,
while he was...
3 days after he was
reported to have been tortured.
But the protesters...
His friends, he reported to have been tortured during detention.
The protesters alleged that he was
and they believe he died as a result of that.
Yes.
Whereas... Here is the thing.
Whereas the doctors and even people who were close to him said he had problems with asthma.
Of course he does. So, even his brother told me.
Yeah,
even the guy who bailed him.
Even though he had asthma, he didn't die until he was tortured.
Allegedly.
He was tortured.
Yeah. Allegedly.
That's what they said.
Allegedly.
Allegedly tortured.
Well, that's what
now
they claim.
I think.
So now the issue now
there
is
should have been an autopsy to determine what really killed him.
I think
that's what they have done now. That's what they've gone to. Well, according to the doctor, and people close to him, his death certificate said he died naturally of asthma. That's what in the death certificate. But I don't know whether because of the pressures from the protesters, he's been taken for post-mortem. I heard that.
That would not tell the whole story.
I'm trying to say now,
you could have died from asthma naturally when you have no access to your medication. You could have died from asthma naturally. That's also
and the Interior Minister made a statement last night.
Before we get
to that. Now, what I want to know actually
you asked a question that I wanted to comment on. I was in Brikama when the protest started.
That's the Brikama one?
Yeah, because I forgot that it was planned and I went to the market that early morning. and there were police, like there was a very heavy presence of police everywhere at every strategic junction. I went to the market, I couldn't see any one single protesters initially, but there were so many police officers, anti-crime, what do they call it?
Police intervention.
Police intervention, yeah, the PIU, with tear gas, with armors, and people were panicking in the market. And at that point, what came to my mind is that this is so unnecessary, because at that initial point, I didn't see any protesters. Until maybe after 5 minutes, 10 minutes into my presence there, that's when I saw 3 protesters in T-shirts, 2 of them carrying the other person, because apparently they have thrown tear gas somewhere. So what escalated the Brikama case? I don't know about the setting down because I wasn't there. What escalated was their response. It was so unnecessary.
Police response.
Police response.
And it was rude as well.
It was so unnecessary. It was so disproportionate. There were so many of them, and when even the protest was ongoing at that time, it wasn't violent. It was not even gaining more attention. The police were gaining more attention than the protesters themselves because of their heavy presence there.
I heard the people who even were trying to talk to them, they were aggressive.
Yeah.
Like
they were throwing tear gas. I sustained an injury there.
I wanted to find out, for example, who is to blame.
Obviously, the police. That's what he is telling you.
The police. I mean, we've seen Faraba. I mean, if we have not learned lessons from the Jammeh era, at least there were occasions in the country from which we could have left, even post Jammeh. Faraba, we've seen it. What happened there? I think some other place where we saw alleged police brutality. Now, if the police are claiming to be professionals, I think at least the Brikama case could have been avoided.
There was nothing professional about
that. Now, people have applied for permission to protest. Even if you are to deny them permission, you spell out the reasons why the permit has been denied. That was not done. They've not been given any correspondence as to why the permit was not done.
Apparently, the permit came the very morning when the protest, the refusal for permit came the very morning during of the protest.
The very day of the protest. So
that's the information I got.
So that you know that is wrong, because you didn't wait until the day that they're going to. I think it came only when these people said they were going to go ahead anyway.
Chama, I think this whole thing is sad. Bissau, I was in Bissau, a failed state. Yeah. They do protest.
Everywhere protest.
Now everywhere.
Careful, don't call me.
What I want to stay here.
Never had a government for 15 years.
What I want to state here is the police.
They do protest.
The police.
You cannot even do protest.
Let's look at the background to this case, because apparently there are people with the view that this whole thing was politicized. But even if it is politicized, I think it's the job of the police not to listen to politicians when it comes to doing their job.
The IGB failed.
They are supposed to be independent and protecting everybody. Whatever the politicians above them think. If the politicians above them think that this Brikama incident has been politicized, is another political party which is masquerading as activists. If that is what the politicians think, the police would say, okay, all right, it's not our job now. Because even as a political party, they can ask permission and protest. They can do it.
Definitely.
They can do it. So even the political parties can legitimately protest about something. So if they told me these are politicians masquerading as activists, I should be a professional policeman. I would say, okay, my job is to prevent whatever happens. Whether it is a pig or a cow which is protesting, my job is to protect the properties of the people. So the best thing is assist them protest. I go home, they go home.
Yeah.
I think the problem would have been solved.
The first point is, this whole matter is political in nature to begin with.
Yes.
The second point is, there is nobody who doesn't have a right to protest because they belong to a particular
political party.
The second point is, the third point is that these protests have every inclination to be peaceful from the beginning to the end, as I've seen it. The second time that the police have manifested their unprofessionalism when I was there was in the afternoon when we went to the police station. I was with some other colleagues, people like Dr. Sise and Salutal. They were negotiating with the police commissioner.
What is Salutal, Dr. Sise? Are they there to prevent?
Just trying to negotiate.
They were there to negotiate.
Are they not the people they accuse of feeding the flames? What are they doing there?
No.
Those people had nothing to do with it.
We have to understand, for example,
I'm talking to you from the point of view of
some of the people people who
The
were
police
some
bombs.
of the people who were arrested were our students from the university, and also, I mean, for Salutar, for example, he being the president of the Bar Association, he felt, and for Dr. Sisa, for example, they have a history of working with the youth organizations, and they know some of these people who were there. And they went there, in my presence, what I can say truthfully, to negotiate the release of those who have been detained, but also to talk to their colleagues to stop the protests and to go home. It was during that negotiation, because I was there when Salutar was talking to the man responsible for the station, and that the police officer asked Salutar to come and talk to go and talk to the crowd, to tell them to leave the premises, and then the negotiation can continue. In that moment, the PIU sent a reinforcement inside the station. The moment they disembarked their car, they started throwing tear gas on themselves. Because the first person in front of the group started throwing out tear gases, and the effect was coming back to them
indiscriminately.
Against
even
one
without
of the police officers who, was a woman, a heavy-duty one, sorry to say that.
She was affected.
She fell and collapsed. And that's why I fell too. And the effect was on everybody. And the people that they were targeting, most of them were curious onlookers. It always happened when an incident happened in the Gawa station.
Everywhere.
You see them, young children, young boys, young girls were just standing in front of it was so necessary.
So let's look at what the Interior Minister said. You had an opportunity to listen to him yesterday.
Look, I listened to him, but
I
looked at it. I listened to
I think he will bring the point of view of the police. What was his explanation?
I stopped at some point.
What did he say?
No, he was just basically saying, assuring that they're going to investigate the death of Usman, and they were calling for people to calm down and stuff like that.
More or less a spokesman of the government.
Yeah, but you know why? What causes this whole thing? It's how we see protest. In this country, whenever we start talking about protest, it doesn't matter who is in government. Their default instinct is to say they are opposition. So what's the point? Who owns this country? Is it the opposition or the people in government? Everybody owns the country.
I know.
So if things are not right, it doesn't matter whether you are whether you are not in government. Protest is simply a manifestation of your desire.
Yes.
Or something is not happening right in your opinion. You just go to the street and say, "This is not happening in my opinion."
Now let's look at this.
There's no war.
Let's look at. Okay,
just
now let's look at the background.
Permit and give them police protection.
Let's look at the.
They go ahead and do what they think.
Let's forget about this. Okay, if we put aside the right to protest for anybody and buy into the idea of the people who have said it's politicized, they said that Sirifo Sonko, the chairman, used to be UDP. When he was UDP, there was no problem with his administration.
He now turns to
now listen. That's the argument. Listen, when he was UDP, there was no problem. When he shifted his alliance to Barrow, suddenly he became a problem. He's been criticized where he was not been criticized.
But which is a known fact anyway.
Well, that's what the people who believe. Truth. But that's what the people who believe is politicized. This is what they believe. They said all this commotion.
I think Demba wants to come.
I want to analyze this. How truthful is this? Because I know for sure that even a political party can themselves, apply for a permit and protest.
UDP did.
Yeah, I mean, 2006. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Does it make sense that whether Sirifo Sonko was a former UDP who's now a Barrow ally, does it make sense that that's what led to this commotion?
I think at the end of the day, it's what the people want. Whether Sirifo is UDP or BYM or whatever his affiliation is, it's irrelevant in this.
Whatever
it's about what the people of Brikama, what they want. If it is 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, they want to go and show their dissatisfaction with the work of, what's his name again?
The chairman of the council.
Chairman of the council.
Even if they are led by UDP elements.
It doesn't matter. APRC, anybody can protest.
Including APRC,
I'm telling you
the monster party.
I'm telling you the viewpoint of the people.
Even APRC can go and protest and say we don't like this.
These arguments are just showing how ignorant people are about democracy.
That's right. That's what they politicize everything.
And it also suggests why the government feel vindictive, because the police presence there was to show power. Yeah. It was to show that we're not going to tolerate this. We're going to crush this opposition.
Now, that's what I'm saying. If the police take orders from the politicians, and it's always the people who are in power, and they fail to realize their job of being independent of these forces that are competing for power, that their job is to protect each and everybody, no matter how, which background. If they fail to do that, they will do the bidding of the people in power who saw these people as politicians, and they will cause chaos, and the government will get blamed. So exactly the opposite of what.
So I think
what they intended.
For me, there are two things. There is lack of respect of rule of law, and I mean, when I say this, I say this from all sides, whether the protesters and the response, including from the authorities. If you decide to go ahead and request for a permit as a protester, you've exercised your right. I mean, and you're being very law-abiding by requesting a permit.
Exactly.
If you are denied a permit, request again. Certainly they will give you a reason for this denial. Or even if they don't give you a reason for denial, ask again. Twice, 3 times. If you continually be denied, then you have a cause. It goes to the Gambian courts. You understand? If that doesn't work out, then you can decide to, I'm sorry to say, then took the law to your own hands or go and protest. That's one option. The other option, and that's where the protesters fail to be law-abiding. But on the other side of the argument, you can say that the response of the police, the authorities particularly, was over heavy-handed. I mean, these protesters were certainly peaceful protesters. And that's the other side of the argument. You can say that for peaceful protests, I really don't need a permit even.
Yes, that's what
I could go anywhere and stand, hold my placard and say, I don't like what the Brikama Area Council is doing. I don't need a permit from anybody to do that. And if they're doing that and you come and throw a tear gas at me and it's horrible. Yes. And what is even worse from what I've heard, the reports I've seen on the media, is that the police were actually throwing tear gas in the health center.
Everywhere.
That's quite
Not even in war zones you do that, you don't.
In the majority of those who got injured, who got affected by the tear gas were those living in their houses. Because they were throwing inside the neighborhoods. Many of them were children.
Even at Serakunda, they did the same thing.
Inside
so they threw tear gas indiscriminately.
So there's no rule, there's no regulation, nobody's following any rule.
What about the other protesters?
And they control nothing. They control nothing. They only wait until the whole thing escalates and come and use force. That's why they kill people always. Serakunda, they wait until it escalates and then they came. All the places, that's what they do. Serakunda thing I was telling you, the time I wrote the story to publish it about the Serakunda incident, it was around 10.
There were a lot of people gathered.
And I published that story at that time. It was around 10. These people were, they were all over the police station. If these people wanted to kill those police, they would kill everyone.
Well, the police actually
because the number of people in the police station at the time was over 300.
That's what some analysts said last time.
But they waited until the whole thing escalates.
Yeah. So now, what lesson do we learn? The police also said that the protesters released detainees, they broke furniture, they were vandalizing the whole police. That certainly is not a protester's right.
Yeah. So it's going to be a cycle of a blame game.
Yeah.
We're going to the protesters are going to blame the police or the authorities, and the authorities are going to blame the protesters. And it's going to be that cycle of blame game. But at the end of the day, nobody's taking responsibility for anything. Certainly, the protesters who allegedly released detainees or alleged criminals, it's not right. If they did that, that's not proper.
Well,
and unfortunately, even if that happened, I'm sure no genuine protester will do that. That's probably where we have people hijacking this protest.
Are the police not justified in denying permit when they suspect that there will be freelance protesters?
They are not. Everything wrong that happened because people were angry. What caused the anger? The police.
Let me say this.
The
two protests.
If the police knew that there are going to be people.
In the sense that one was organized and there are people you can hold responsible because they were protest leaders. The other one was so clandestine. It was from people who had initial grievance against the authorities. It was filtered with those who were unruly, who had youths that have nothing to live for, nothing to die for. And there are structural reasons for this. Unemployment is one of those. There are so many of them who are dissatisfied. So it would be, the response to that you would expect would be more direct than, for example, the Brikama case. Because there will be people who will be vandalizing, there will be people who will be destroying property. But in any case, what would explain that is the underlying causes for having such a group of people living in those areas. What should we do about that? We have a youthful population who are into nothing. Majority of them are not. And these are people when things like, they look out for things like this to happen because that's when they feel they have an activity to do. Good. So it still boils down to government taking responsibility for these people also. Rather than just responding to situations when they happen. You want to uproot the cause rather than responding to situations.
I think that's important. I think we should also learn 1 or 2 lessons from all of these protests since Barrow. For me, from what we've seen, there's sort of a trend. Where the government issues permit, we have not seen any issues.
No incident.
No violence.
Yes. No incident.
So that's what where there's denial of permit, and so that's where the issues come.
Yes.
So I think it's important
so where the police,
that they go back to
where
the
the police had given permits, there had been no problem. So they learn from that lesson.
Obviously. It's easier that way. Everybody has
even at this place, these people were angry because they felt that justice will not be served. Now, it was the responsibility of the government to give them the assurance that that justice will be served. And these people were at the police station for 4 hours at least.
Nobody came.
4 hours. From 8 right down to 11. I was there. I was talking back and forth.
So nobody from the authorities came to see?
Nobody came until the whole thing escalated. Even the CDS came later on. And until the CDS and Salah went there, which was in the evening.
Honorable Salah.
Yes, which was in the evening. So should it have been diffused by Salah? Of course, Salah was the lawmaker around that area. He did but this is something that even the IGP could have come and told the guys, look, I feel your pain. I understand that no one should have died as a result of police brutality. It doesn't matter whether you are sure the police did it at that time or not. Just give them an assurance that this will be investigated.
Can we talk about Salah's intervention in this?
And if someone found guilty, that person will pay the consequences. This is what the police.
So that was what is lacking.
Yeah.
And generally, people believe that at this time of during this type of crisis, the government, from the highest office, like the president himself, should have come out and address the situation. But nobody had seen the president. Nobody had had the president. The minister did so. Do you think that was enough?
They keep saying that we have a leadership problem in this country. There's sort of kind of a vacuum going on.
I mean, one thing that Salah's intervention taught me is that leadership is always necessary.
Absolutely.
Leadership, wherever it comes from.
It must be seen and be heard.
People want to be assured that somebody is hearing them, somebody is listening to them,
if they don't
somebody understands them. If that is not coming from the leadership, it's creating a vacuum.
There's a vacuum.
Who feels
and that vacuum was what caused the violence.
So the government.
People wanted answers in the morning. They stood there for hours, had no answers. They went
no authority.
Someone's compound.
Yes, certainly the burning is not justified. But
it's not justified, but it's a reaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, someone comes to take your pen from you, you have no opportunity, you have no powers, you also take a stone and pelt the person.
So you mean you suggesting that because there was nobody the protesters could talk to in the initial stages,
that's why they did what they did.
That's why it degenerated into this violence.
So that compound should be paid by the government.
And in the long run, if the government continue to be mute, to be absent over situations like it, to be absent, it's going to create a security. It's going to be a security threat.
So 2 lessons we to learn here.
It is already a security.
One, the high-handedness, the traditional high-handedness of the police that we inherited from the Jammeh regime is still around. And the lack of lessons, the lack of learning lessons from this Faraba episode is also around. That the police should give permits to any demonstration that they themselves consider will be peaceful, whether it is political or not. Their job is to protect everybody. And where they given permits, you said, there was no problem.
Because when you even give a permit, you at least have a way of controlling a crowd. Exactly. Because there you are dealing with an authority. You are dealing with Demba organizing the protest, and you give Demba the conditions. Oh, Demba, you take this route. By this time you stop the protest.
It put you in
simple.
So you guide them, and then they protest, and everybody goes home.
And me too. If I organize a protest, they don't give me a permit, I will do it. I will still go ahead,
listen,
because
now,
this is what should happen.
What does this tell us? In the period leading to these things, we had a police or a minister of interior saying we've acquired water cannons. I've not seen the hot water yet, but we've got water cannons and we've got tear gas, etc., etc. And we have the people condemning them that we are not afraid of them, and then suddenly we saw these things. Yeah. Somebody somewhere, said, no matter how weird this might sound or alarming, somebody said this is all a rehearsal for what we could expect in December with these 3 years job now. No matter how that sound alarming,
I suspect
somebody suggested that this is a rehearsal.
And I
feel like the government is trying to prove a point with what they have at their disposal.
That is we will use violence.
We will use violence
for me. I even think
but I also know that is going to be the biggest mistake of any government.
So they should exercise tolerance instead of violence.
Exactly.
As
we have seen, what has de-escalated the situation in Serekunda and Brikama was other people who got involved, show leadership, talk to the protesters and convince them.
Absolutely.
It was not the tear gas. It was not the tear gas.
People like Honorable Halifa Salah.
And the CD and Deputy CDS.
And the Deputy CDS. They came to the scene.
It was the soldiers who were deployed to the ground. The paramilitaries, they have to remove them. Because all that they do is fight people.
Because
even where these people are, Doctor and Tal who were trying to calm them, I was told they were not even present to them.
So the military or the authorities realized that the people had more trouble with the police than the military, perhaps. So they withdrew the paramilitary.
Tell them about your research.
I think it's important. Research actually indicates this, that there is so much more trust in the military
than the police.
And I don't know for what reason, but certainly the experience and the cases of corruption in the case of Gambia, I mean the April 10, 11. All those are histories that we see where the police, the paramilitary, were the face of those brutalities.
I see.
So I think it's important also that when you talk about the army is a very disciplined force in most cases, and they tend to exercise more restraint. From what we've seen basically in Brikama, it was the paramilitary that was throwing tear gas and using heavy-handed.
Perhaps they realized that the paramilitary's approach was wrong, so they removed them from the scene to avoid matters getting into more and more.
I didn't see any military presence in Brikama.
Yeah, where is Serekunda, is it?
And you know the whole irony of it is, if you play tough, in the end you play weak. Because in the end you're going to be forced to the negotiation table that you avoided at the beginning, and then you appear weak. This is the thing.
I think the lesson the government should learn from this is, I mean, always it is the people who have the last say. Whether you like them, whether you agree with them or not. It is difficult to deal with defenseless civilians. The only way you can do is to negotiate with them
and be persuasive.
Look
at what Salah did when he came to that place. He got the police to release 8 people. When they released the protesters also calmed down. Otherwise, there was going to be a rampage in Serekunda. Because I was there. Even in the evening, there was tear gas in the air. I was there with Sekou Jambe because a journalist was arrested briefly because of mistaking identity issues. So we went there, and at that time, the environment was tense. The people were there. If he had not negotiated because the police station at Bakode was already broken into, all the police had gone, and the paramilitary, they were left with just
moment.
And this was the market. They were going to break into the
shop. There could have been looting. There could have been a lot of looting.
There was going to be a carnage.
There could have been a carnage because if the police overreacted
and the leadership was just, perhaps I think the mindset of Barrow at the time was that if I come out and address these people, I would have shown weakness. December is coming.
Barrow never.
No, that's where the problem is.
Maybe this may also be the mindset.
No, but I don't think it's I mean, we're only speculating, but I don't think the December has anything to do with this. If anything, I think, especially the case of Serekunda, it was very, like you said, I mean, you disagree that it's spontaneous, but I mean, all indications are that it was not anything planned.
That wasn't anything.
And so I think, to be honest, the lesson would be, or the lessons that should be learned is that it's always important, it's important to engage people, irrespective of what their opinions are. We can disagree, but at the end of the day, we all have this conflict. That's what we have in common. You know, you could belong to any political party or have any opinions about anybody, but at the end of the day, if we don't protect the Gambia, we won't have any place to protest then. And that, I think, in most cases, some of the authorities, they overlook the fact that protesters also believe in this country. They believe the need for safety and security.
Absolutely.
You understand? So if you're requesting for a permit to protest, you're requesting for your own security. It's not just for security of what could be destroyed, but for your own safety and your own security.
Absolutely.
You understand? So I think that that level of awareness, that level of conversation, an honest conversation for that matter, it's important we come out of our own, like, oh, I'm UDP, I am Barrow Youth Movement, and come out of that sort of
that's where the problem
and that's what is causing Gambia's problem now. Because everybody has the right, regardless of who you are, to just go and stand on the street, hold a placard, just nothing. You're not beating anyone. You just have, I don't like this.
So much.
You put that on your, and hold it like that. You don't want to do that? What you ended up doing is fight.
Anyway, what we expect from our security forces is is to behave in a manner that was lacking.
Can I say a disclaimer, because I know that this can be a sensitive thing. I personally spoke to some of the paramilitary officers who were there. I was making a joke about them. I mean, I threw a sarcasm that was lost on them. I was like, "Do you enjoy your new toy?" Obviously, because these are new toys, and they were like, "Yeah." But one of them said to me, "Oh, we don't enjoy this. In fact, if it was left to me, I would want to be with my wife, grooming my attire. I don't want to be here." Like they were like, "We don't have lunch. We don't have." So it all boils down to who is giving the command. Like these people they are not at liberty to say we cannot, but the command is coming from somewhere. And
and the issue that's all what we have been saying about these junglers. They were reduced to monsters who could not question things. And what we expect our security forces is to exercise, to have the courage. To stand their ground and exercise as much independence as possible from likely unlawful orders, because the people rely on them because of their professionalism. They don't see them in UDP colors, they don't see them in APRC colors, they don't see them in GDC colors, they did not see them in Barrow Youth Movement or NDP in quotes colors. They see them only in the national colors. You see, what was lacking in this country was this. If a citizen is, for example, chased by unidentified gang or something and is his life in danger, wherever that person sees a uniformed Gambian uniformed serviceman, he said, "Oh, I'm safe now. Because this guy is not going to ask questions. He's going to save me and deal with whoever is doing with me." But when the situation boils down to a place where even when you see the serviceman, that's the time you are more terrified, then that's a problem. We see them in our own uniforms, not belonging to any of the political factions. So they must have the courage and the boldness to resist any command from the authorities that is going to see them to be partisan, because that could really, escalate things like we've seen before. So I think we need a lesson from this. Now, what is trending? What has been trending? Those are the ones been trending.
I don't think it's
well, the Yankuba Ture case too trended a bit. I mean, the contempt case that was thrown out.
Yes. So
that was a bit
somebody said
a bit of bar. A lot of people yell at the bar over that. So
somebody said Yankuba had won another battle against Attorney General. That was a personal battle between them. How did you see? The judge said the case was not properly.
Of course, yes. Everybody blames the Attorney General.
The judge said it was not properly.
How can he be the most popular and the most unpopular?
Because he is the one actually doing something.
Yeah. But actually, many people believe Ba is the most serious government minister, really committed to the reforms that the transitional government has been assigned, as far as his area is concerned. As controversial as it may sound.
That some people are questioning his competence, especially in the manner in which he's been losing these highly rated cases.
Well, I don't think
case. Some people believe
that he took them personally.
I think it's important.
The wrong way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to see my government being active. I want to see my government doing something. And I will always commend the Justice Ministry for being the face of this government as far as action is concerned.
They look to be more committed. You agree that they seem to be more committed to the reforms than any other. Well, of course, there are some, maybe they deal with far more controversial issues, or perhaps.
But I think that's interesting also to look at it from another point of view. And I think for me, this is also to see the judiciary as being independent.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big plus for us.
Yeah.
Especially with all these human rights violations going on.
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, it's really nice to see that government also loses sometimes, you know,
Yes,
and that, you know, the judiciary is, you know, seen to be doing its job independent of whatever the government
that's true. They must not be carried away by...
Another way to look at it is that Ba does not have much interest in this one so long as he has Yakuba in custody over the murder.
So the murder case is...
And he's contemplating his additional murder charges.
10 more.
That's another point, because now the content case, for as far as Ba is concerned, the content case appears to be irrelevant.
And the murder case is more of a technical issue anyway. It's also more of a technical issue, you know. I read the judgment. From
what sent him first? What initially sent Yankuba to detention? Was the contempt case, isn't it? Or was refusal to testify?
It was witness tampering.
Yeah, witness tampering.
Witness tampering.
No, I mean that was thrown away. I'm talking about the recent one when he refused to testify.
Yeah, of course, he was arrested for refusing to testify. But remember, he was first charged with murder.
That's what I'm saying. Is the murder charge that came first?
With murder and later contempt. Because they wanted to.
They wanted to keep him at all costs.
They wanted to keep him. That is why Ba went straight for murder.
But Ba had said that actually the reactions was because of the contemptuous way he treated the whole nation. The commission and the victims and etc. etc. So an example has to be set, but of course it has to be legal. It has to be legal.
A lot of people said he was too emotional.
Too emotional. Well, you saw the reaction of the people. I mean, people were really angry, and the government must be seen to be doing something. So at least on that score, the government was seen and was praised for taking an action against people who really should have been sensitive to the people, the families of the victims, etc. Now, if that's the only thing that had been trending, perhaps it's time to draw the curtain on this edition of The Brunch with our usual look at the entrepreneur of the week. Now, this comes every edition. And today we'll profile a Gambian who set up a business for economic growth and employment creation. He's called Sidi Khan, and he's the CEO of Redland Mart, Redland Finance, and Redline Capital. Well, what is so red? Everything about him is red, so we will find out through this video.
Sidi Khan. I'm the proprietor of Redland Capital, Redland Mart, Redland Finance. My brand? That's a good question. Redland Capital. So basically, you know, we try to help our clients create wealth, you know, and then help them manage that wealth. And then we have a couple of subsidiaries, which are Redland Mart, as well as Redland Finance. Redland Capital basically is a real estate firm. So we do real estate sales, purchases, management, and development. And then the Redland Mart aspect of our business is, as you can see, groceries and more. And then, of course, we have Redland Financial. Well, for years, I've always been, you know, always wanted to be an entrepreneur, always want to be self-employed, always wanted to create something. So because of those things, or because of the aforementioned That's how I got into business. So basically the drive to create something, create a service people. So that's what drives me into business. Challenges. Well, I guess number one is, licensing. When I first got here, I wanted to establish an insurance company. That was one of my first, desires, but turns out the cost of licensing is very, very expensive. So number two is employees. You barely find those that have the skills that are required to operate, the kind of businesses that I want to operate. Also, employees are not very honest. So those are some of my challenges, Tens of them. So you can see all these people. I got some upstairs. I have marketers. I have contractors. You met the, Elijah here. He's upstairs at the office right now. I have subcontractors in Salaji. I have subcontractors in Bigelow. That's our development aspect, construction. So I've created tens of jobs. My clients are mostly on the real estate aspect. Everyone lives overseas. About 90% of my clients live in the United States and about 10% in Europe. So when it comes to real estate, I do not have any local clients at all. All my buyers, all the people that I manage for, or we manage for, are all based overseas, so the diasporans. So, but of course, when it comes to the Redland Mart aspect of the business, those are the local people that come in and buy groceries and buy toiletries, so yeah. But then again, the diaspora does a whole lot for us. So they call in their orders, they email us their orders, we deliver their orders, and then their families and loved ones pick up their orders as well. We want to be the #1 real estate company in this country. In 5 years' time, we're going to be the best of the best. We are located at the Bruceby Turntable, aka the Runabout. So we are across the street from the AfriMed Hospital, LG building, of course. The real estate office is located on the 3rd floor. Redland Mart is on the 4th floor. So again, Bruceby Turntable, Bruceby, Commonwealth, West Coast region, of course, the Gambia. Our phone numbers are 728-0222. That is 728-0222 or 322-0349. That is 322-0349. www.redlandgambia.com. info@redlandcorp.com. That's our email address. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching. I look forward to your support. We look forward to serving you. We are here because we want to do our part when it comes to national development. The government alone cannot do it. It has to be a collective effort for this country to develop. It has to be developed through the private sector. Everybody has to know that. There is no shortcut to success. We have to learn to work hard, and then we have to learn to work honestly.
Welcome back, and just time to say goodbye actually. So, on behalf of my panelists, Nima Kamara of the University of the Gambia, Mustafa Dabo Kerfatu, and Demba Kande also from the University of the Gambia, we wish you all a fantastic weekend.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Look guys, you guys got very big rams. I hope you don't get it from where I'm suspecting.
Do you think you are the only one who knows where all the good news come from? My son bought me this ram all the way from abroad with baluwo.
Oh yes, this must be baluwo. Me too, my daughter just bought one for me. True baluwo. With baluwo, everything is possible.
This Tabaski, you can buy ram for your family using the trusted Baluwo. Just log on to the www.baluwo.com website or download the app. You can buy ram, otherwise foodstuffs such as rice, sugar, cooking oil, and much more for your family this Tabaski. Baluwo, better than sending money.
noo lañ def ñooy ñëw ak yéen rek skincare plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5-star jesna la 5-star jesna mooy jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee buñ demee Bamako ñun duñ dem ci marché bi rek buub indi déedéet dañ leen a jox suñu specs ne leen nii lañ ko bëggee nay lañ ko bëggee fóot bi ñaar nangami fóot lañ bëgga pour mu mun a set waaw cuubi skincare déedéet doo ko sol mu di la taxa all over the place ci gàttal ñun rek si cuub dara du doy day des not only dañoo cuub but bu la neexee ñu cuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la ñaw fi mu gën a setee nag rek la ñoo fulee ñetti ñawkat lañ am nañ ñawkati simple nga xam ne you know xoppati rek mbaa def sa taille basse def sa dagit def sa roba amul benn dawme am nañ koo xam ne moo ñoo dawme jigéen den am nañ tamit special ñawkat boo xam ne ñawi góor rek la ñoo defal nga bugg sa his and hers muy korité muy tobaski mbaa muy ngénte muy taka mbaa nga bugg rek you know def sa yëkka bu baax a daagul ba ñëw skincare plus ñu dimbali la tànnal la cuub fam gën a baaxee ndax sa yëkk a gën a foor lii nga ne lan xoolal bi takka la skincare fii la fu léegi yéen tey we're not all about skin we are skin care and the plus does come in so many different ways. cubantu wuñ de dañ cub bam saf-saf